Welcome to the Athletes in Motion podcast, from race to recovery, with your hosts, Tom Riegel and Kenny Bailey.
Hey, Kenny, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Tom, how are you?
I'm fantastic as well. Want to welcome everyone to our new home for in-person here in Franklin. We're at the coffee house at 2nd and Bridge. It's my favorite coffee shop in town.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And I've been coming here for a couple of years since I got here. So we're really happy to be hosting the show from here.
Yes.
And our in-town guests, anyone that's here, will be here at the coffee house. And we're usually here anyway having coffee.
Yeah.
So it just worked out really well.
Yep.
Less travel.
Yeah.
It was all
Good
good for
breakfast
us.
too, by the way.
Yeah.
So I just had a breakfast burrito. Very happy about that.
Good food.
Yeah. So yeah, we're really excited to have just a location, which is kind of fun to bring our guests and be able to kind of sit down and share stories.
Yeah.
So.
And Happy New Year. We're kicking off the new year here, as we said, and we're also adding a little bit to it. We got lots of fun stuff for this year on the program. So for this podcast, we're doing AIM Sprints.
Yes.
So this is going to be a shorter version of just us, probably giving you lots of opinions and not really rants, but just discussion.
Yeah.
We want to keep it positive. We want to have it so that we can talk about some of the newer issues that are coming up. That'll give us a little chance, to put out a little bit more program.
Yeah, and also we want your opinions on these things. So we are going to offer our opinion. We're going to offer our kind of take on a few things, and we'd love to hear from you guys. Like, what do you think about kind of certain topics? So we'll do these throughout the year and just kind of be able to give you a short, bite-sized sprinter, the sprint distance version of our shows. There
Exactly.
You
So we're tying that all together.
Yeah.
So good. So
our first topic of today, to kick off our first show, is the Ironman folks have announced officially now that they have moved the Ironman World Championship into 2 locations.
Yep.
So they split the men's and the women's. The women will be competing this year in Kona in October, and then the men are going to be in Nice, France in September.
Yep.
And then the following year, they're going to switch that. The men will be in Kona, and then the women will be in Nice. And we've got opinions and thoughts on this.
And so does everybody else, apparently, because this has been a pretty hot topic.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about why.
Yeah.
I think the first thing to note and the first thing to realize is the World Triathlon Corporation, WTC, is a for-profit, there to make money.
Yes.
It is not to make sure that they have, obviously they need a great race, but the intention of the great race is to make money.
Yes.
And to make margin, that's another one you have to understand. It's not just, hey, I need to make money. We need to make a margin. We have shareholders that we need to atone to.
Profit.
Profit makes
Profit.
Yes.
Profit.
And there's expectations on profit.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly, but that's you have to understand that's the lens
Yes.
in which they're looking at this.
Yes.
So I think what they wanted to do was split the men and women's division. I think the intention was noble.
Yes.
I think they were trying to solve a couple of things. One was to give more focus on the women, to have their own day, to be able to not get the publicity split, if you will, between the men's race and the women's race. So it's focused on them. I think the other reason that we all know that is also to get more people, because you can have age groupers now on 2 days rather than just on a single day.
Yeah. You're not limited to 2,500 to 3,000 people.
Yep.
You can double that.
Correct. Now, the bad part about that is they thought they can do that in Hawaii,
Yeah.
which is an island
Doesn't happen.
that you get overrun. So
Yeah.
for folks that may not know, when Ironman 20 years ago was there, it was great. It was a neat community. They did the underwear run to make fun of themselves because it's like everyone walks around in spandex,
basically no clothes whatsoever.
Speedos,
Yeah.
so they think, well,
Yeah.
let's make a fun run from it.
Yeah.
It's gotten to the point now where it's really taking over that city, taking over that whole island. And so they wanted to extend it to 2 days, and that just absolutely imploded Hawaii.
And I was there in November for another event, and there was still blowback from the locals we were getting a lot of nasty comments and things, just a small group of people still racing around the island, and they're still angry.
So they tried to do the right thing,
Yep.
To try to be able to do a spotlight, but unfortunately what it did is it sort of cratered the spot that they're at.
Yeah.
So you can do, okay, so what are your choices after that?
Yeah.
Well, you can try to move back to a single day, and that felt like that genie's out of the bottle, so they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
You can try to a whole different location, or you can try to figure out how to do this kind of split thing. And I think they went towards a split thing. I have to tell you, I'm not a huge fan of this.
And I think we need to look at what is the issue. Is it the fact that Kona has to be the World Championship, or is it the fact that Kona has to be Kona and that World Championship can be something completely separate? And there's a lot of questions on that. Like for me personally, I don't care about the World Championship. I'm never going to qualify for the World Championship type of thing, but I love Kona.
Yeah.
And I would go to race at Kona.
Yeah.
So how does that play into it? It's like...
Yeah, and I think whenever you do anything new or different, there's always going to be blowback on this one.
Sure.
I think the issue is because it's so inextricably tied with Kona, the background, the lava fields, going to the Queen K Highway, all of that has this elevation. You don't say, hey, I'm going to go to the World Championship. The shorthand for most triathletes is I'm going to Kona. Like, hey, I'm trying to get to Kona, right? And that means I'm trying to get to the World Championship. But as age groupers, you're just trying to get there to be a top age group. You're obviously not going to be on the podium. So that's the challenge. The challenge is you've combined it with this location. And if you recall, I believe, was it last year when they did it in St. George? Nothing against St. George, but if you saw the shots from St. George, having the leader run behind like an apartment building underneath an overpass didn't exactly imbue the spirit of Ironman. I mean, it was a fantastic race, but location matters too. Yeah. The second problem they're having is if you just look at September's calendar now, they imploded a half a dozen Ironman races. Yeah. So Ironman Chattanooga, Ironman Maryland, those two are.
It'll be interesting to see how it affects, if it affects those numbers. Are the people there qualifying for the following year, or are those people that are racing that are a one and done type of thing where they're never going to qualify? And they're not concerned about that. That'd be interesting to play out.
And I've already talked to a few of the coaches that are talking about people will like, wait a minute, so I'm going to try to defer because I want to go to Hawaii. Yeah. Right? Like, I don't want to go to Nice. Yeah. All right, my dream wasn't to go to Nice. Again, this is nothing against Nice. I mean, Nice is a beautiful
it's an amazing
city.
It's got a long history in triathlon too. Yeah. It's been through the 80s. It had, it's great stuff. 90s.
Yeah, so I don't think this isn't a knock on Nice. What it is the decision point where if you do it every other year, you're going to have athletes, especially people like, this is my only time I'm going to be able to do this. Yeah. I want to do it with a background in Hawaii. I mean, that's what I grew up with. That's what I've been dreaming about. Yeah. And now, can I defer? I mean, there's going to be all sorts of funky monkey stuff that's going on the thing. So.
And is it going to be better for the Europeans? It's certainly easier for them to get to Nice, right? So is it going to be that when it's held in Nice, that it'll be more of a European, not that it's not European based or dominated at this point anyway, but is it going to be more that way and then more US on the Hawaii side? I don't know. I don't know if that'll play into
it. And that's the other thing we got to realize is WTC is a global organization, and any real expansion for those guys is in Asia, in Europe, not in the US. The US
They've
is
tried
pretty
expanding in Asia, and it just really hasn't. I mean, there's opportunity, I'm sure, for them on that.
Yeah, but the growth is not. I mean, the U.S. you can add one or two more races, but
well, they're looking, as you say, we talked about the business side of things, right? They're looking closely at the margin. Look, Alaska came on there, seemed like it was going to be great, and they didn't get the people signing up this year, and they yanked it right away. And you see them doing that with a lot of different races, where all of a sudden it's there and then it's gone. Because if it's not going to make money and it tapers off the second year, they're out, right?
Well, and that's speaking of the money part, right? We talked about this as well, which is now as a sponsor, are you sponsoring September's race, and then you're going to go pack it all up a month later and go to Hawaii? And
that almost doubles your cost to send the same amount of people and product and everything shipping from one end to the other a month apart. How does that affect your sponsorship dollars?
Yeah, so once again, we're looking at the unintended consequences of what these guys are doing, which is, okay, we want to be able to have more women to participate, more highlight on women. I think that's a noble and right thing to do. Mm-hmm. The unintended consequences now is you're splitting it a month apart. You're sort of tromping on other races. So those races, how they affect. So if you race, those in August and September, I don't know what the cutoff is going to be for the September anymore, right? Yeah. You have people that may be qualified for that may want to defer. I mean, there's going to be all sorts of sort of churn.
The deferrals will be interesting. It's like, well, I want to defer. It's like, well, maybe you can only defer 2 years out to Nice again.
Yes,
like
exactly.
You can't defer to Hawaii. You're going to have to force that location on it. That would be interesting to see. where they're coming from. So,
Yeah, and it's starting to get a little watered down too with the amount of ways you get into the championship.
Yeah. They have so many races now, right?
Yeah.
There's so many races. There's so many slots that you can get.
So I'm curious if there's a number they're trying to get, to your point. Does it have to be 5,000, where a one-day race wasn't going to be able to stuff that many people in? So there has to be some sort of financial number that they're looking for to say, okay, this is the number we want.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to try to attract sponsorship differently. So if it's an all-female race, are they going to try to go for more women's centric sort of sporting events?
You're gonna have location-based sponsorship.
Yep.
Like if it's more close, if you're closer to Europe, then you're gonna go to Nice. If you're closer to Asia, you're gonna go towards Hawaii.
But if you're sponsoring a women's focused one, are they going to get more women-owned, women-run focused companies to be able to go do that?
Yeah.
For example, there's going to be certain brands out there that are catered more towards women.
Yeah.
Are they going to try to?
Are they going to try to do that?
I don't know. Right.
Yeah,
It's an interesting. As a person, like I grew up, waiting for NBC to come on and do the triathlon. And you'd watch it and you'd see it, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, and just get pumped to be able to do it. And so that glamour of that is that doing. If they can keep that glamour, it just feels like, at the point is the glamour starting to fade on it because we're trying to make sure we keep everyone happy, get enough people, and it's changed hands about 3 times now. The ownership has changed.
At least.
So what's the ultimate goal anymore of this thing?
Yeah.
So
and I'm like, for me, I don't care that they have a world championship that's not on the island. Mm-hmm. To me, I don't think that's a big deal.
Yep.
Move the world championship around, but keep Kona as its race, right? Even if it's a single day.
Yep.
Keep it as that race that you could go to that will be there, so that the people who want to race at Kona can race at Kona.
Yeah.
And then if you want to race at Kona and you also want to be a world champion, then you can go race the world championship at some other point. Yeah. So.
I like the idea. So
that's my opinion of it, because but once again, I'm not going to qualify. I'm not going to get down that road unless I'm 80 and there's a roll down.
There you go. That's right. You just get old enough. They get slow enough.
I'm hanging on.
There you go. So my idea, I think, is when you look at how football, so you look at the NFL, right? Mm-hmm. There are cities that bid. The Olympics, there are cities that bid for the Olympics.
Yes.
There are great venues in the U.S. and outside the U.S. that Ironman could go to. Utah, name it, right? Sacramento, I just got back from Sacramento. They got a great venue to be able to do that, right? Coeur d'Alene, it'd be awesome, right? Name it, right? You can come up with whatever, but the intention is instead of treating it like it almost feels like they're asking, like, gosh, could we please hold it here because we don't know we don't know where to hold it, right? And I know Nice is like, to your point, it's going to probably be a beautiful location. It's going to be a great race.
It's a great course.
But it'd be great to be able to have those cities bid for it and be able to come in just like they do on football and say, hey, what we're going to do, Utah, is we're going to get the city behind us. We're going to get our athletes behind us, and we're going to bid for the 2026 World Championship to come here.
There you go.
Right? And so now it becomes an event where other folks want to do it, and you can treat Kona like an anniversary event. So, hey, our 50th, year at doing this, we're going to go back to our roots, and we're going to do Kona. So if the people still want that, they can do that. To your point, you can still have a Kona Ironman.
Yeah,
but the World Championship, maybe you treat it like once a decade. That way, the city isn't getting burdened, every year.
Yeah.
It's like, look, guys, it's going to be a special
once anniversary every 10 one. years, we roll through with 2 days.
2 days,
and just like. I don't know if they, and I think part of the problem was they had a Thursday, Saturday, right? So it was really a full week at that point for the locals. The locals just got beat up for forever.
Yeah.
They'd have to do a Friday, Saturday type of thing. But you're finishing the race and then starting the next one a few hours later.
Yeah.
Which would be really hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Really hard.
So I think, also you have the volunteers coming. But I think to
Yeah,
me,
that's a whole
if
issue
you can
itself,
try to if you try to make an event where it becomes an event for that city, where the city rallies around it, they have 3 years to prepare. Again, it's just like the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
You bid for the Olympics, you get it, everyone cheers.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I can't believe we got this. Okay, now we got 2 or 3 years to really get our act together. Let's get the infrastructure ready to go.
Yeah.
Let's host a really good race.
Yeah.
Let's really show what, I'll use Utah as an example. Let's just show what Utah can bring, and then everyone can go cool, and then it becomes a positive thing because now you get to go visit different races, and also I think for the athletes, now you have to train differently because the bad part about being in Kona every year is Kona. I mean, yes, Kona changes when it comes to weather. I mean, every race is going to.
But you have like 1 or 2 things that you worry about, and then the course is the same. And the course hasn't changed for quite a while. I mean, it changed quite a bit in the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's not been the same course. So for anyone who's like historically it was like, well, it has to be Kona, it has to be Kona. Well, it started in Oahu, and then it moved to Kona, and then it changed. That course changed multiple times before they finally decided on what they have right now, which has only been, I don't know how many years it's been that way, but
so it'd be like the Tour de France, right?
Yeah.
Where the Tour de France would be like, okay, this one is absolutely for the climbers, right?
Yeah.
This one's absolutely for the sprinters. It could be, okay, this course. For those people that were in the top 10, but maybe the bottom half of the top 10 on the pros. This may be more, they're going to have a better shot in doing this. For the heavier riders where weather and humidity in Hawaii was an issue and always an issue, now it's going to be a cooler climate. Maybe they're going to have a better chance. So it kind of mixes up also that finisher. So it's not, no offense to Jan Frodeno, the man's an absolute legend, but Jan's got that thing on lock, right? So
but I think he'll probably
have
when he's healthy. I don't think it's going to matter the course.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what course. Jan's just going to kill it.
He's just going to prepare and,
so
and crush it.
I think that then brings that level of excitement. So if you're able to switch cities, you have to start training for the altitude, for the different, you're allowed to be able to do that. I mean,
and I think when you want to grow an event like they want to, you have to get the city behind it. You have to get the community involved in it. Because you need volunteers, a lot of volunteers. And then second of all, maybe you get competition between the cities. Like like with the Olympics, right? Who put on a better show? Right. Maybe not to the level of what they're spending to do the Olympic shows now. Sure. I mean, it's just crazy, but it's not that big, but maybe they get a little bit of competition going. It's like, can you do better than these guys, right?
Yeah.
And
let's show them what kind of tri-community that we've got. Let's show that off.
Our destination, right? You've got one shot in 4 or whatever to really put on a show. Yeah. So
I think Ironman just, I understand what they're trying to do. I just think Ironman, it's starting to get a little diluted, and the purity of it for me is and I'm trying to be really careful to think, okay, is this just change and I don't like change, or is it, and is it biased because we're in the U.S. and we love it and the fact it's in the U.S. I don't know, but I think just a 2-day event and over 2 different months is going to be a challenge. Yeah, I don't know how that's going to be perceived. Maybe we just look 3 years from now and maybe I'm probably going to be completely wrong on this and everyone loves it, but how it's sort of imploding. You've got, again, when you're qualifying for an Ironman, there's a cutoff point because for that year, if you qualify early in the year, you can race, later in the year. How that's going to work on 2 different months now, and what the attraction for those folks that are like, hey, if you come here, you can qualify for this year's World Championship, now won't be able to say that. So that's going to be a little bit different for those guys. So I think there's going to be some challenges.
It'll be interesting to see how well they think it out, right? Because there'll be some mistakes. There'll be some little trip ups and some things happening, because anytime you move to a new venue to create a whole new thing, I'm sure they'll have some really great experienced people working on it. There'll be some little hiccups, and of course the detractors will jump all over that and make it something else. But how does it play out over the next couple of years? I mean, I think the contract's only through 25.
That's
26.
Yeah, exactly.
So they've got a couple of years to see if this model actually works. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, it'll be interesting for sure.
So.
For sure.
Tell us what you think. Tell us what your opinion is on this. I think we're approaching it, or at least I'm trying to approach it. I don't want to speak for you. I'm trying to approach this as, I think there's some challenges. I want to see it succeed. Yeah. But, the choices over the last few years have been interesting to see what's been going on. And we hope it leads to a better outcome. Right now, there's been, a lot of bit of a kerfuffle, shall we say.
Yeah. Well, you get
kerfuffle.
There's definitely people that don't like change.
Yeah.
And they don't like change on many levels.
Sure.
And this totally blows their head up,
Yeah.
and they absolutely hate it. I'm trying to be like more open-minded on it because I understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
I still love Kona, right? I love the Big Island. I do love the people on the island. I have some friends out there. I try to get out there whenever I can. Anytime to race or train or just visit the island, I think it's fantastic. So that's always going to be in my heart, and Kona will always be there. But I have other races that race at Kona, so I don't have to worry about like only being there for Ironman events. So there are other events on the Big Island that you can race and do to get that vibe without all the fanfare and the cost, essentially, of doing an Ironman distance. But it is. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. For sure.
So give us your opinion on it.
Yeah, let us know what you think. Give us some thumbs up. Give us on the format. Let us know what you think about the format too. As we're doing all of this, we're going to mess with the camera angles and lighting and a few other things. We've got some great other things that we're working on for this year. So let us know what you think. Thumbs up, 5 stars. Keep the algorithms active and get this out to more and more people. And and we'll look forward to catching you on the next one.
Yeah. See you on the next sprint.
All righty.